Hi, I'm Charlie, and this is Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders. Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders is available both as a podcast, wherever you get great podcasts, and on video on our YouTube channel, Cooking Secrets for Men. So today I'm very pleased to have as my guest, Jasmin Tresky. Jasmin.
Hi, Charlie.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. Beautiful summer day here in Milwaukee on a Saturday morning. Jasmin is the grants director for Community Matters with the Bader Philanthropies. Bader is one of the is a private foundation here in Milwaukee, one of the best, affecting a lot of change here and has for years. And you're also on the list of the most influential Hispanic leaders here in Wisconsin.
Apparently.
Apparently. Apparently she's on the list. So we'll get to Bader. We'll get to your work in the community in a little bit. But let's talk about your growing up years. So you're born here in Milwaukee in the South Side.
Yep.
Grew up, and then eventually you end up heading to college at MATC, which is right down the road here, and then got another degree at UWM. So why don't you talk about your early years and your journey to get up through college?
Sure. So, yep, born and raised here in Milwaukee. My dad is from Mexico, and my mom is born and raised here, but also of Mexican heritage. My dad came here when he was 7. He was raised out on the East Coast of New Jersey, and his stepdad was Puerto Rican. And my mom, she went to the military, was a staff sergeant in the Marines, and she also grew up she stayed some time in Virginia. She lived with a woman out there that taught her how to cook soul food. And so everyone's always like, are you like traditional Mexican? And I'm like, actually, we have a blend of Puerto Rican influence, Black culture and Mexican. So, and Tejano, which a lot of Tejanos would say that they're just proud Tejano and not necessarily Mexican. So my mom lives in Texas right now, but my mom's like, I'm proudly Mexican.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a bunch of influence in our family, and we grew up on Milwaukee South Side. First off of 16th and it's now Cesar Chavez. So my parents then moved us to Bayview, and they bought their first home. And so we grew up in the Bayview area for quite some time, and then, they just continued to strive to have a better life. And so when I was in 8th grade, we moved to South Milwaukee. So I ended up going to South Milwaukee High School. I fell in love with sports of all kinds. So growing up, I have always been a tomboy, and people that know me now are like, you're so girly, like, what? And I'm like, at work, I dress up, but typically on a day-to-day basis, I'm in comfortable clothes, a t-shirt, and sneakers. So I grew up in school playing volleyball, basketball, running track, and then I did co-ed soccer after school. But towards the end of my high school career, I thought about going to college, and I actually applied to NYU. I got accepted, but neither myself or my parents knew how to do financial aid. Right. My parents were like, great, you got accepted, but like, what does that mean?
Right.
So I took a year off because I just didn't know how to navigate things from that point. And the year off probably got me in trouble a little bit. My son was conceived, and he was born in 2009. So I became a mom, and eventually a single mom. And so it was coming to that point where I'm like, I really need to decide now what's the best for my son. I need to figure out how to navigate school. I need to figure out how to navigate a career, and that's when I started going to MATC. When I walked into the Oak Creek campus, they used to have a wall. I don't think it's there anymore, but the wall just had pamphlets of all the majors and minors that they offered. And so I remember going to the wall and saying, which one would be the most financially stable? Maybe this one. And it was business management. And I picked it. I went into the admissions office, and I said, I want to major in business management. They said, great, you're working, we can put you in an accelerated program. And then I kind of took off with that.
Good.
My desire, though, Charlie, was to be in sports marketing. I wanted to run the college halftime shows.
Your youth.
Yeah, I did, but life changed, and then eventually it took me from that point probably about 11 years to finally complete school, just part-time, online, and night classes. So
Wow.
it took a while.
11
but-
years at MATC
No,
and UW.
and UWM
Okay, gotcha.
combined.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I was at the point in my career, which I know it kind of blends a little bit because we'll talk about career, but I realized that I didn't want to do financials. I didn't want to do, the banking and the numbers. And so I said, communications would be a really great degree for me. It's a skill I want to sharpen. I want to do more public speaking. So I went the communications route, just a very general degree.
Uh-huh.
And then I found myself in a finance career after that. So just look at life. But that's, yeah.
So,
schooling.
as you mentioned, after graduating, congratulations on perseverance, into the banking world for about 10 years or so?
13 years.
13 years, okay.
Yeah.
So, and then at some point, you transitioned, you pivoted to the nonprofit world. So, and this leads you up to when joining Bader. So talk a little bit about that transition and that journey,
Yeah.
and how you went from working in the banking into the nonprofit world.
Yeah, I wish I had the kind of traditional story where I went to school, then I found a career, then I grew a family, but I was kind of navigating all of it at once, which was and can be overwhelming for anybody. While I was going to school, I started working part-time as a teller at Guarantee Bank in the grocery stores.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't want to hire me at the time because they said, you don't have any sales experience. So part of my interview was to take one of their brochures, memorize it, and then go out into the grocery aisle and find a phone number and get a lead back to the branch. And if I could prove that I could do that, they would hire me. I proved that I could do it, Charlie. I proved that I could do it.
I've never heard that, but that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I know. But actually, when I got the job, it was part-time, and I said, I either have to decide to do really well, or I have to keep struggling and trying to find the next job.
Right.
So I learned the ins and outs of retail banking. I grew pretty quickly as a full-time teller, and then a banker, and then the bank I was at didn't have like that full catalog of banking products, like investments, business banking. And
Right.
so as I was growing, I said I need these in order to benefit the conversations I'm having. So from Guarantee, I went to Associated, and I really learned like the depth of what banking could be. And I grew there. They put me in leadership programs, training programs, and the beauty about retail banking is that you can grow without having a four-year degree. They just have, many banks have an extensive leadership and training programs that they can put individuals through. So while I was going to school, I was excelling in that space, which led me to being a community president at Waterstone and learning mortgage lending. But yeah, I was getting towards the end of my banking career, probably year 10, where I said, I really don't want to sell checking accounts. And, it's like, Charlie, take all of your accounts, come to my bank,
Right.
switch all of your ACH, all of your bill pay. And, it's frustrating. So I said, what else is out there? How else can I grow in the bank? And this is when I was at the tail end of getting my bachelor's degree. And in order for me to move to commercial banking, you had to have your degree. So as soon as I knew my graduation date, as soon as I knew I was for sure going to graduate, I started applying for commercial banking positions at BMO. And then I got hired on as a banker in their equipment finance department. As I was going to work every day, I would drive by the city. And I would drive past the south side because now I'm in the airport, Oak Creek
Right.
area. And I just saw this, though the city is thriving, there's still this desperate need for a lot of healing, a lot of resources, a lot of connection in order to improve some of the things that we don't like to talk about in Milwaukee.
Right.
And it just began to tug at my heart every day. So I would go to my desk and I'm wrestling with this thought. I'm looking out the window. At this time I'm married, and my husband and I were serving at our church with the youth. So I'm like, maybe I could be out in the community working with the youth. Like, maybe, what does that look like? And the decision was really hard to leave banking because I had financial security. You know, I worked so hard
Right.
up to this point to be in a successful career, be on a track to be the next, national sales rep. And then I said, maybe I do want to stay in Milwaukee. Maybe I do want to make a difference here. And it took about a year to make that decision. And finally, when I knew my husband was supportive, I knew that, what else do I have to lose? I don't want to keep, I want to have a choice now at this point in my life. I decided to leave. And so I left and I worked for a private school in the city of Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked helping them with events and development, and I really thought my skills could easily transfer. It was a large pay cut. But I want to talk about this part of my journey because people fear taking a risk because of things not working out or failure. But what this taught me was that in order to get to where you want to be, you have to experience failure, and failure came in that position. It came because of I don't think it was a good match between myself and a leader, and so I left, and I was unemployed for the first time, and since I was 15.
Right.
And I panicked a little bit, and I thought, do I go back to banking? It's my safety net. It's something that I've known for so long. I know I'm good at it. Or do I keep trying to figure out what it is that has been tugging me towards community? So I submitted probably hundreds of applications, and I'm sure people can relate to that. I see it all over my LinkedIn.
Right.
But my husband told me, he's like, you have to stop applying for jobs that are even similar to the bank. If you're taking a leap of faith and continue to move on with faith, and something will come. So I ended up finding a position with the MKE Tech Hub Coalition.
Uh-huh.
And I was hired on there to also help with events and program management. So I really loved the position. I was actually, and this is how my faith is so important to me. So I'll say this is how God works, is that when I thought I would leave to work for one school, I was at MKE Tech Hub Coalition, and I was working with hundreds of schools across Milwaukee, and some encounters within Madison, and tons of students to impact life-changing careers in technology. And so there was just beauty in growing in that career and seeing the impact that one open door, one opportunity of exposure could have on so many people. So I was promoted after about a year and a half to Director of Early Talent, and I started to help with the K through 20 strategies. And as I was going into the inner city schools, and now I'm kind of getting my hands wet, my feet wet, as I'm trying to expose them to opportunities in technology, there was a clear opportunity gap in that some of these students were worried about their next meal, wondering where their parents are, battling with bullying, battling with drug and violence within their neighborhoods,
Right.
that a career wasn't really what they were worried about. And so I talked to a mentor. You actually had him on your show, Art Cerna.
Oh, sure.
From City on a Hill.
Yeah.
I'm on his board, but I also had a conversation with him about all of this. And I said, I think I really want to just work at something that is meeting the basic needs of the community. And so during this time, this transition period, my husband and I, along with some friends, we started a church plant in Walker's Point, and we started to just learn about what activities were available for youth. But in that, we started working with District 2 Police, and we found out more information about drug violence, addiction, and sex work out in the area. And then Art knew about everything going on, and he emailed me, and he said, hey, Bader's hiring. So it was for the grants director for Community Matters, which is my portfolio. And I work with basic needs in the community in Milwaukee. So I'm working on things like housing, shelter, barriers to work, mental health, stability, physical health, and the list goes on and on. But I look back on this whole journey, and everything has woven together somehow. All of the skills that I've learned, all the lessons that I've learned have woven together somehow. But it's taught me to have compassion for what I'm doing now at Bader, to really live out the values that Bader stands for. So.
Well, your journey is to you very personal, but I know, and I'll use Gwen Moore, our congresswoman, as an example. Your story is very similar to hers, except you didn't grow up, in the '60s, and she's '70s. But no, she was a single mother. It took her 9 or 10 years to get through college, and then she just persevered and found what she loves to do. So, and I congratulate you on the perseverance that it takes to do that. All right, so Bader is, as we mentioned, as a private foundation here in Milwaukee, but the work that they do throughout the community is very well known. They moved their office down to part of the underserved area of the city, in Harambe. And I know Dan Bader, and he's a great humanitarian. So talk a little bit about the work that you do at Bader and how they're affecting change in the community.
Sure. Bader is actually worldwide, and I think every time I've learned something new about Bader when I was coming in, everything's just been mind-blowing. How one family foundation could really have this much care and concern for those around them, but not just in the community, but so much further. So we have several different portfolios. I oversee Community Matters, which I had briefly talked about, and we're focusing on the greater Milwaukee area. We also have an arts portfolio, youth, aging and Alzheimer's, social equality, no, I'm probably saying that, social inequality, and that's overseas and international.
You want social equality.
I know, we sure do. And then we have our legacy portfolio. So Dan and David Bader are still, involved in the foundation. The two of them founded this when their parents were leaving that legacy to them. Dan is our CEO, and David is on our board. We have several different portfolios, and then another big focus we have is neighborhood engagement. So, like you mentioned, Bader has strategically placed themselves in Harambe because they wanted to be part of a community that they saw really great potential in. There was a ton of innovation, a ton of individuals with talents and skills that really just, if people could come alongside them and encourage them, provide resources, and create a sense of community, this area could thrive.
Right.
And I think all of Milwaukee could agree with that. Bader has done a great job in getting people together. So.
I guess an understatement, but yes.
Yeah.
As we just talked about, your journey is commendable. It's inspiring. As a matter of fact, Luke, if you're watching this, pay attention. Tell us a little bit about your family. You already mentioned in general. Tell us a little more.
Yeah, so my son is 15 years old now.
Yikes.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, pray for me. He's great, but teenagers, just the period.
Yeah, we were all
that's
teenagers.
All I have to say. But he's great. He's goofy. He's got high energy. He is a wrestler at Oak Creek High School. So he's going into his sophomore year. But in his freshman year, he was wrestling some meets on the varsity team. So he's really grown a passion for that and a great love for it. And
takes after his mom. You didn't wrestle, but she's athletic.
Could wrestle. No, yeah, definitely. Okay. He's a natural athlete. And then my husband, I actually met him online. And he is everything that I'm not, just really we balance each other out really well. He's the head coach of Wisconsin Lutheran College football. And we're in football season now, so I always say this is my single mom season. But we love going to the games, and we make it a point that when he's at football, that the whole football team's our family. So when I can, I try to go out there and have dinners with them or spend some time with them. We're always at the games, so it's a change, but it's an exciting time of the year for us too.
Good. All right, so we call this series "People with Serious Jobs Having a Little Fun." So we'll have a little fun today. I'll give you one of our aprons so you don't get your nice clothes all dirty. So what are we preparing today?
Well, I guess, you asked about my heritage. We talked about Mexican fiesta, and I didn't really want to cook. I've been cooking a lot lately, so I wanted to do ceviche. Ceviche is light, fresh, it's summery, and it has a ton of flavor. So we're going to cook shrimp. We're going to make shrimp ceviche.
Shrimp ceviche. All right, so we've done a little prep work. We're going to go back here and put it together, and then the audience is a little thin right now, but I know there's more coming. So we're kind of feeding a little bit of a crowd today, so
Okay.
we'll get organized. So give us a minute. We'll be right back. All right, here we are. We're ready to put this together. We've got some shrimps. We've got tomatoes, jalapeños, onions, avocados. That's a habanero, cilantro back there, and a little garlic. So, and we got some lemons too. So, Jasmin, take it away.
Yeah, so today we're going to make shrimp ceviche, and typically people like to use lime juice. I've always used lime juice until I started using lemon. One of my friends was using lemon, and it's not as bitter. So I love using lemon now. So I'm going to start with squeezing the lemon into the bowl.
All right, so we got 4 lemons that we're going to juice, and then we're going to add our ingredients on top of that, and mix it together.
I feel like lemons are juicier, so I can give you more.
Oh yeah, most of them are bigger. So if you get a big lime, buy it. So after we juice the lemons, what goes in next?
After we juice the lemons, then I'll put the shrimp in.
Okay.
So the shrimp can start marinating all of the juices.
Okay. So we're using cooked shrimp. So this is an easy weekday meal to put together if you use. We use frozen shrimp that was thawed, but it's still going to have the same effect from the citrus and the spices. All right.
So now I'm going to add the shrimp. I've seen my mom use even this really small canned shrimp if she wants to save time. But as Charlie said, you get frozen shrimp and then you can chop it into pieces or you keep it as big as you want. However you like your ceviche. So I'm going to dump that in here. I like using Argentinian shrimp sometimes as well, but all depends on your preference. All right, next.
We just used Kroger shrimp.
Yeah, Kroger shrimp is perfect. And then I got some red onion here.
Okay.
I'm going to add red onion. All of these ingredients also are to your liking. So you add as little or as much as you like.
Right. And all the ingredients that we have here are all available readily in any grocery store.
The one thing about the way I cook is I don't always use measurements. So sometimes.
So you're a cook, not a baker.
Yeah. Correct. Oh, yes. Correct.
Yeah,
Don't ask me to bake anything.
I'm with you.
Horrible.
That's cooks don't measure. Bakers are very scientific and have to measure everything. All right.
I like it spicy, so I'm going to add the full jalapeno.
That's a jalapeno, chopped and diced, actually.
Chopped and diced.
All right. Looking good.
Okay.
And the habanero.
Habanero. Can I add the full thing?
It's up to you.
Okay, I like the full thing.
Okay.
I like it spicy.
I had to wear my cooking gloves to handle it.
Oh my gosh, that's a good point. So make sure that when you're chopping any kind of peppers that you put on your gloves, don't touch your eyes.
No.
Don't touch your lips either.
Done that.
I like garlic. Garlic's always optional. And there's so many ways to make ceviche. So people have all different kinds of recipes. This is something that has evolved over time for me. Sometimes I put cucumbers in it. Cucumbers add a really fresh
Little crunch.
taste and a crunch. Crunch. But the most time-consuming thing about making ceviche is the chopping. So whatever you like to do. So I'm going to add the full cilantro.
Okay. All right.
I'm not going to add the avocado yet, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So now I'll get to the spices. I'll start with one teaspoon of salt.
1 teaspoon of salt. And salt is one of those, as you mentioned, to taste, because some people don't use salt for health reasons. Other people like it very salty.
Yeah. You know what? One thing my doctor just told me, which is the advice that people usually don't get, is because I have such a low blood pressure that
Right.
I need to eat more salt.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They said add more salt to your recipes. Pepper.
Okay. A little black pepper.
That doesn't mean that I make bland food, by the way. My food has a lot of, but I don't know what's going on. So, and then cumin. Cumin seed. Cumin, you don't need a lot of it. It's really potent. So a good sprinkle will do. All right, now we mix it up. You can add. I love the taste of cilantro, so you can always add a little bit more. I'm going to add a little bit more red onion.
Okay. And we have more cilantro.
Yeah, that's
Plenty.
awesome.
We're mixing all the ingredients, and we have some avocado to put in a little bit, and you're going to explain why you wait to put it in.
So after we mix it, you can kind of see with your eye what else does it need before tasting. So that's when you can always add any more of the ingredients that you like.
Okay.
Especially if your presentation, like I am, especially if I'm taking this to family, I would say it needs more color. So
Right.
what more color could I add to this? So I'm going to add just a little bit more black pepper, and then we can always taste if it needs a little bit more salt. You want to do a taste test?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm always up for a little tasting.
Yeah.
Thank you. You get a little hint of the cumin. I can taste the peppers. You're right. I like the lemon. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I've always made it with
Lime,
lime. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So now we can put this into our presentation bowl.
Okay.
Get all the good stuff. It looks beautiful. And then I wait to add the avocado.
Okay.
Avocados can smash really easily, and they can get, it's more for display, right? So if you put the avocado on top, especially if you're doing like the presentation, they look a little bit more fresh. And then as everyone's indulging, then obviously it'll start to mix. So I just wait for a presentation. If you don't care about that, add the avocado in there.
Okay. All right.
And that's it.
Beautiful.
I'll add all of this later, trust me. But for now, that's it.
Yeah, we'll have it available. All right, so we're going to get set up, and we're going to give it a taste. And Jasmin, thank you for getting this together.
Of course.
And we will be back in just a minute.
Perfect.
All right, we're back. So, Jasmin,
Yes.
tell us what we got here.
We got shrimp ceviche, and I cannot wait. It smells so good. It's really refreshing, great for the summer.
And
Amazing. And chips.
got some chips.
Of course,
So why don't you
tortilla chips.
take a few? I'm going to take more than a few.
Nice handful.
You're a dainty eater, and I'm not.
Well, I don't want to be like,
Well,
I'll eat the whole bag of chips.
I'll just put them over here, and you can just unobtrusively just reach over yours. All right,
Okay.
all right, napkin in my lap. So we put a little lime for both color and just a little bit on top. I'm gonna put that in mine, and I'm gonna dig in with a chip. Let's see how we're doing.
I like to add hot sauce to mine, but there's 2 peppers in here, so this should do. What do you think?
Delicious. He said with his mouth full. I mean, you certainly can taste the shrimp. All the other vegetables kind of meld together. I know there's habanero in there, so I know there's going to be a kick at some point. And the avocado, which I love, it's a superfood,
Yes.
And then that just adds to both the taste and texture. I like the lemon. I wasn't sure about that. But I think it works.
Right? Like the lime is usually a little bit more bitter. Mm-hmm. But the lemon just brings out a little bit more sweetness, a little bit more flavor.
Well, your point about lemon is well taken, because lemon is used in so many different things to bring out a little freshness and a little flavor and a little citrusy. So I would never have thought to use lemon in this, but I will.
Good. One thing I didn't mention is that I used to have a salsa company.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. I went into
No wonder you like hot stuff.
entrepreneurship for like 6 months.
Uh-huh.
And it was so successful that I got scared and I quit. I was the only employee, but it's a family recipe.
Uh-huh.
I'll have to bring it for you as a gift one day.
Wow.
Dahlia salsa is what it was called after
Dahlia?
my mom.
And your mom is Dahlia. I have extra avocado, too, if we need it. I might take a little piece or two. Put that in.
And then if you leave this to marinate, probably for at least an hour or more, an hour to 4 hours, everything will just soak in the juice. And it'll just be even better.
Before you take another bite, I know you got your mid-bite, but
Okay.
thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. I
a pleasure.
appreciate you. Yeah, it's
Thanks
been
for telling
fun.
your story, and thanks for making great ceviche. Yeah, you're working in the community, and your journey to get where you are today is inspiring, as we've talked about. And you're working for a great place, that's
Yeah.
doing work not only here, as you point out, in Milwaukee, but worldwide. It's just a great place. So, thanks so much.
Thank you.
We'll hopefully be following you in the papers as your legend grows. So, thanks so much for taking the time to watch. Please like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for supporting Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders. See you next time. Thanks for listening to another episode of Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders. Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders is brought to you by Cooking Secrets for Men, LLC, and was recorded in the 3rd Ward in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We feature and profile community leaders who are trying to make Milwaukee a better place. The tagline is, serious people with serious jobs having a little fun. Our guests choose the recipes that we use on the show. All of our podcasts are available on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get great podcasts. The original YouTube video for this episode is available on our YouTube channel, Cooking Secrets for Men, all rights reserved. Thanks, and see you next time on Cooking with Milwaukee Community Leaders.